What's up, folks? Thought I'd roll out of my little hiding spot here. I decided to take a 34-hour restart here just because, there's a lot of stuff here. There's a bunch of truck stops. But that's kind of what I wanted to talk about right now. All these truck stops. Probably the biggest issue that faces truck drivers today, or that truck drivers face today, is parking. I mean, you see all these trucks across the way parking. There's 3 truck stops on this one exit, or 4 truck stops. Hell, I don't know. Anyway, there's a bunch of truck stops on this one exit, and every day they fill up. There's another truck stop a couple of miles down to the south. There's a couple more, a few miles up to the north, and it is a absolute nightmare trying to get a parking spot in this area. Well, all along I-81. Turn my lights on. All along I-81, throughout the week, especially anytime after 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, it's just almost impossible. Now, if I could run what I prefer a schedule would be overnights and sleep in the day, I had no problems getting parking spots, but unfortunately this industry ain't working that way for me, and hasn't for a long time. I don't do dropping hooks anymore. So anyway, there's a solution for it, and I think it's a good solution, but it involves the government giving back to truck drivers. Since they take so much from us, they ought to be giving back something. But they need to provide us with parking areas. Now, some states do have parking areas for trucks. Florida is one of the rare few good ones that has a lot of parking for trucks. Government funded parking. I don't remember if you can park in their way stations, but they do have a lot of rest areas, and they have a lot of truck parking in the rest areas. Kentucky, as much as I hate that state, you can park in their way stations. They have things called rest havens when they're way stations. But even those fill up very quickly, and that's mainly because there's just not enough good truck parking out here. And with all the complaining and whining about trucker shortage, there really isn't a trucker shortage. It's a lie, because the fact is there's too many trucks out here. That's one of the reasons our freight rates are garbage. That's one of the reasons the parking situation is so horrendous. But until people leave the industry, in large numbers and whatnot, it's going to be a huge issue. And even when they do, freight rates will go back up, and the pay will go back up, and it'll entice a whole new crop of drivers to come in. So there needs to be a real solution to parking. And I think studies need to be done based on traffic density and volume and whatnot, and how a certain number of parking spots need to be mandated by law every so often, at variable at distances, to accommodate the truck parking. And the farther north you go, especially northeast you go, the worse it gets. But especially on the East Coast in general, it's just not good. I don't want to pass this guy, but come on now. This is why I don't do. Anyway, so that's what we're facing out here. It's very difficult. We're mandated by law that we have to take these breaks. We have to shut down for 10 hours. We have to take a 10-hour break after 11 hours of driving, whatever. And I think the government, if they're going to mandate these times that we got to take, we got to shut down and take off, then they ought to mandate that the states who receive federal funds, who receive portions of our IFTA, our registration, everything else, they need to provide us with places to do that. I think that's common sense, and most people can understand the need for it. I can't just go home. Right now I'm several hundred miles away from home. I can't go home and just go, sleep in my own bed. It's not possible. So I need to have a place that I can park and go to the bed that's right behind my seat. Too often we get kicked out of places. Nobody wants to see us around. That's the one thing that really drives me crazy. And I sent a very nice response to somebody who's running for city council in the city that I live in. This guy was on Facebook, campaigning on Facebook, okay, and he's talking about things he wants to get done, and a lot of people were responding saying, you need to do this, you need to do that, we need to focus on blah blah blah, and he's responding to people talking about street lights and sidewalks and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, well, maybe this guy will respond to me. So I sent him a letter, a long post on his post, and no response. It was like, and I was being extremely nice, saying, look, I just don't feel like I'm welcome in the city that I live in. I've never felt welcome there. There's no truck stops there. The city's made it very difficult to park there. There's no public places for us to park, and even the private places that that have been there to park are going away. I've lost my parking spot. I cannot park in the city anymore. I don't know of a place that I can park. So, and it's been like that for a long time. I've had my truck towed a few times over the years out of businesses. I used to have a long time ago when I first started driving. Parking at Walmart's wasn't such an issue, and I had my truck parked at Walmart, and I had written permission for it, but they share a parking lot with Sam's, and like the day before it was Christmas Eve. Sam's decided that they wanted the parking spots for their customers and had several of us towed out of there. We weren't like blocking the middle of the parking lot. We were over towards the edge. Like I said, this was a long time before it was ever really a bad issue with all the trucks in the Walmart. There was like maybe 4 of us over on the very edge of the parking lot right next to the interstate. We weren't in the way. And like I said, I did have written permission from Walmart, but Sam's didn't give a shit. It ended up costing me back then. I mean, that was like 2001, the first time it ever happened to me. I think it cost me like $400 or $500 to get my truck back. And like all I'm trying to do is just have a weekend at home. I'm not trying to block your parking lot. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I want to go home. I have a right to go home, and there's nowhere else to park. So, unfortunately, that's where we're at, as far as parking situation goes. And, I have never felt welcome in the city that I pay taxes in, the city that I live in, the city that takes my money. I don't feel welcome in the city, in that city to park. And for the most part, not in the entire, metropolitan area there. You have to understand, in Virginia, there's no counties. There's counties, but if it's a city, it's a city. There's no county surrounding it. So the cities are sizes of counties, and where I live in Hampton Roads, there are no counties whatsoever other than York County. But it's a convoluted thing. Virginia has super cities, so once it becomes a city, the status of a city, there is no more county. That and Virginia is the only state in the country that's like that. It's Commonwealth actually, but that's another story. Point is that there are very few truck stops in the area. There are none in the city that I live in, and there are no public parking places. And all I asked was, hey, maybe you can look into setting aside some public property, even charge us for it, make it, and make it where you have to be a resident of the city in order to park there, but charge us for it. I'm happy to pay for a parking spot when I go home, but that's not even an option. So what do you do? And like I said, I have a right to go home as much as anybody else, but if you drive a big vehicle, screw you. We don't want you in our town. We want you to deliver products, but you got to get the hell out as soon as you do. So stay away from us, not in my backyard. I don't want to see you. Imagine how that makes you feel. I mean, you're not a truck driver. You may not understand it, but, believe me, if you put yourself in that position in just any shape or form, whatever you drive, just imagine if all of a sudden, your neighborhood says, you know what, we don't want your particular car in the neighborhood. You can't come home to your home. How angry and upset that would make you. Especially when it's enshrined in law and and there's not much you can do about it because the so-called representatives won't even respond to you. They act like you don't exist. You're not important. You're not a person. It is second-class citizenry. In the way that people were discriminated against based on their sex, or their race, or their religion. All that stuff in the past. We don't have that anymore, but we still do have that for people who do certain jobs. And this is one of the reasons I've never understood why cops are so freaking hardcore about trying to harm us and whatnot. It's like, you of all people should understand the attitude that we get from the general public of, we hate you, we don't want you around, you suck, and I think at least the cops have their cheerleaders. Truck drivers, some, but not to the same degree. Not to the same degree. We don't have politicians out there, kissing our asses and trying to make laws to help us. But we should, and that's what I'm talking about now. We should have laws that help us. And I'm not asking for anything special. I'm just asking that we be able, we be afforded a place that we can park legally and safely without having to worry about getting towed or getting vandalized, getting robbed or anything like that, that kind of thing. And I don't think that's such a hard thing to do. Like I said, most of us would even be willing to pay for it. And if the city or county or state or whatever set aside an area for you to do that, and you don't take advantage of that, well, then I guess you get what you get. But the fact that they don't set aside areas for that, they don't provide that, and then they still treat you like you're doing something wrong because you parked on an on-ramp or you parked in a parking lot or whatever. It's like, fuck you. That's not right. That's not right to treat people this way, especially people who make America work. I've said before, I don't want a pat on the back. I don't want to be treated like some sort of, special thing or whatever, like the cops are, or the military or anything like that. But I do think that we should be treated with dignity and respect, and and be afforded the same basic, rights and access as anybody else has. But we don't have that. We have people who want to limit our hours that we can work. We have people that want to limit how fast we go on the road. We have people who want to, just make life more and more and more difficult, and they have never, not since not in the 22 years that I've been driving, ever done anything to, that I can say is a positive to make things better for us. Not anything. Now, some private businesses have, there's better cell phone service out here now. There's, a lot better access to stuff like that. But as far as, the government doing anything to help, no. There's been some decently, acceptable, changes in the hours of service, basically the way the 30-minute break thing works. But still, we shouldn't have a 30-minute break. That's number one. We shouldn't have a 70-hour rule. We shouldn't be limited on. Would you come on, man? What are you doing? I don't get it. Come flying up around me, then you want to slow down, and what are you doing? What are you doing? The hell away from me. What are you doing, dude? I don't understand people like this. This guy's just, he's decided to slow down and ride right next to my, my steer tires. Like, why are you doing this? And I've slowed down almost to 60 miles an hour now. He was coming around me and doing much more than I was. I was doing about 70, and he was doing much more than me. And then all of a sudden, as soon as he gets like right past my hood, he slows down when I was about to get behind him, because I was going to pass his truck in front of me. And then, I don't know, I'm sure he was playing with his phone. I couldn't see inside the vehicle, but I can almost guarantee that, because that's what people do these days. Make the road more dangerous for everybody because they can't put the damn phone down. Anyway, I might cut that section out. But anyway, I think people who don't drive trucks and people who don't have to deal with this, they're not mean. They're not horrible people that they don't care. They just don't care because it doesn't factor into their day-to-day life. But I think it should be something that's brought up, it's not so bad to be empathetic towards other people. We've shown a lot of empathy towards other people in the over the years, especially recently. And how about showing some empathy for people who really have some serious issues, and not just social issues or whatever. I mean, we have real logistical issues that need to be fixed, and these things can be fixed. This isn't really a Republican versus Democrat thing. This is a bipartisan issue. I think that anybody can look at the situation and say, yeah, this is a problem that can be fixed, and there's really no argument about it. I don't see where there's an argument, except for you don't want to spend the money. But sorry, but you've taken the money. We've already bought and paid for it. You should spend the money to make sure that we are able to keep running and keep this country running the way it's supposed to, because this economy does not work without us. This is a damn clusterfuck, and there's no reason for it. I just don't get it. Guy in front of me can't stay in his lane. Gotta love it. See, I don't want to get behind this damn Toyota right here, because I don't know if this guy's going to speed up, slow down, what. I don't know what he's going to do. There he goes, slowing down again. And you got dickheads up here turtle racing. There you go, speeding up again. Man, you can't figure out whether you want to put your foot on the gas pedal or on the brake, can you? And now we've got a bottleneck because of all this. This should have never happened. And the guy in front of me just cannot stay in his lane. I don't know what the hell is wrong with him. There is a line of cars behind me right now, and it's going to be a while before I can ever get out and go around these people once these trucks up here in the left lane clear. You gotta love this. Gotta love it. I'm doing 50 miles an hour. Come on, people. What the fuck? Come on. And that's another thing. If you're a truck driver, you're not bitching about traffic. You're just bottling it all up, getting all angry about it. Don't do that. Bitch about it. Yell at them. Cuss at them and whatnot. Call them all kinds of names and whatnot. It helps get it out. Once you get it out, at least for me, once you get it out, you'll feel better. And you won't want to kill somebody later on. Come on. I do not like driving like this. This is way uncomfortable for me. I think that dude needs to get the hell off the damn road if he can't do highway speeds. Alright, that's better. Anyway, so, yeah, the parking, it's an issue. We can't fix stupid, so the stuff that I was just dealing with a minute ago, that's always going to be the way it is. It's probably be that way even in self-driving cars. But as long as we're required to be out here on the road, then I think it's important that we be afforded at least some comforts of home. And I think a place to park is not that much to ask. It doesn't have to have any facilities, just a parking lot, a paved parking lot that we can get into and park overnight, and then go on our way in the morning. It's very simple. So let me know in the comments what you think, if you agree or if you think I'm retarded, whatever. Oh, we don't use the R word. I do. So, anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. Like, subscribe. Tell me how great I am. And I will see you in the next video.